These pancakes are easy, healthy, and most importantly, everyone in your family will love them. Hello friend, I'm Maddie if you're new here, and today I want to share with you the breakfast we have been making on repeat lately. If you saw my last video, you know I've been struggling a little bit with what to feed my baby girl who has just turned 1 year old. And even for me and my husband as well, we have been stuck in like a recipe rut lately. Let me know if you can relate. So we have just needed to mix it up, and that's where this recipe comes in. These pancakes are soft, lightly sweet, and so delicious. You'll probably find yourself just snacking on them straight out of the pan as they're cooking. So for this recipe, we are going to need 1 ripe banana, half a cup of soy milk or any plant milk of your choice, half a cup of rolled oats, and a tablespoon of ground flax. Optionally, you can add also a pinch of salt or cinnamon if you're feeling a little fancy. And I do just love how simple and clean these ingredients are. Like I said, I want these pancakes to be healthy enough for your whole family to eat. And now this set of ingredients will make you a small batch of pancakes, but if you want to work smarter, not harder, what I like to do is just to quadruple the recipe so that we can do a whole big batch of pancakes, cook them all at once, store them in the freezer, and then not have to worry about cooking breakfast for the next few days. So I'm multiplying every ingredient by 4, which means we will need 4 bananas, 2 cups of soy milk, 2 cups of rolled oats, and 4 tablespoons of ground flax. And then we're just gonna pop everything into the blender and blend until smooth. And now you'll see the batter is a little bit thick, and it will probably get thicker as it sits. So just keep that in mind. The batter isn't exactly pourable. It works better if you ladle or scoop out the batter instead. The next step is to get our pans ready. I found it works better if you're making a big batch like this to run 2 pans simultaneously, or if you had one of those big pancake griddles, that would work really well as well. I'm gonna use a cast iron pan, which I want to love this cast iron pan, but it doesn't always work well for pancakes. Now, I haven't tried this recipe on the cast iron yet, so let's see how that goes. And then my fallback option is our nonstick pan, which I know works really well, but I do prefer to use the cast iron because I know it's a little bit healthier. Now, you can also do a little bit of spray oil here. I'm using this avocado oil. I find for the cast iron pan, it is necessary, but for the nonstick one, you probably don't need any oil at all. And then pro tip, wait for your pans to come up to temperature. I like to put them on medium heat and just wait a couple minutes for them to get evenly heated. And I just find the pancakes cook much more evenly that way. And then when your pans are nice and hot, go ahead and start spooning out your batter. And then with pancakes, you kind of want to look for the little bubbles to start forming on the top. And that's when you know that they are ready to be flipped. I also just like to do a little peek test with my spatula and kind of see if they're golden on the bottom. And then we flip them and let the other side cook. See what I mean with the cast iron here? I even used like a little bit of avocado oil spray, and we're still having some trouble with them sticking, which is fine. I mean, they are still salvageable and edible. They're just not quite as cute as the other ones, but that is totally fine. For any of them that are just really not looking cute, I just turn them into a chef snack and eat them while I'm cooking. And then I like to let them cool fully on a wire rack. And then this will also help with storage, which I will show you here just in a moment. Now for serving, you can eat these with fresh or frozen fruit or a little drizzle of maple syrup if you like. For my baby, I usually just do them with a little bit of pureed strawberries, which she loves. And then for myself and my husband, we pretty much always do fruit and maple syrup. But these are already a little bit sweet on their own, so you probably don't need to add a lot of extra sweetener on the top. Now for storing, these will keep probably about 5 or 6 days in the refrigerator, but I actually prefer to store mine in the freezer because it just helps them last even longer. So let me share my best tips for freezing them. First tip is to always let them cool. That's why I have them on the wire rack here. And then my next tip is to put a little piece of parchment paper in between the pancakes. And this just really helps to keep them from sticking together. If you have 2 soft things next to each other in the freezer, they are gonna be very difficult to pull apart once they're frozen. I don't know if you've ever had that happen to you, but it is super frustrating. So to combat that, I just use a tiny little strip of parchment paper. It doesn't have to be a lot, just enough so that you can pull them apart easily once they're frozen. And then I usually store these in either a Ziploc bag or some kind of a glass Tupperware. I do find that the glass storage container works a little bit better for helping them keep their shape, and this way they also won't get squished. But sometimes it is easier to find space in your freezer with something like a Ziploc bag. So it's really personal preference on this one. And then when it's time to reheat your pancakes, I like to do mine in our toaster oven, but if you only have a traditional stand-up toaster, the larger pancakes will work in there. But don't use the mini ones, they will get stuck. But the larger ones should fit perfectly. Just stand them up like a piece of toast. So once they're toasted, just add your toppings and you're good to go.